think that to go back to something that you were saying before, I think what historians can provide is, if we're given more than a 30-second soundbite, of course, is a more thorough analysis of the particular times in which these various figures arose. And so it may be that Donald Trump has certain personality traits that remind us of this historical figure or that historical figure, but what the responsible pundit will do is talk about the difference in the larger circumstance in which he's operating, right? So one wouldn't just leave it at the analogy.
Okay, but why would you do it in the first? I'm just going to talk loudly. Why would you even do it in the first? What's the point of drawing an analogy, of drawing a comparison between the past and the present? Where does that get us? I mean, it's a fun exercise. You know, it's similar to the past, but why would we even bother doing that in the first place? And Ellen, I'm looking at you, but there are other people with microphones too that I would encourage to respond. Why even bother with analogies? If it's so easy to make bad ones, why do we even try at all?
There is this presumption that we can learn from the past. And the past has something to teach us about the present. The most important thing, I think, probably the past has to teach us about the present. And I think this is one of the great contributions of history as opposed to the social sciences is the understanding that just how contingent things are.
That's right.
That until something actually has happened, almost anything could happen. That human action and agency and just plain luck will play a huge part in how things actually play out now and in the future. Now, every other social scientist tends to think in terms of understanding causal relationships and to create and understand causal laws. One of the great things about historians is that they're extremely skeptical, at least professionally as part of their discipline, of such causal laws. Recognizing that in fact, every circumstance, every time, every place, is somehow different from every other. At the same time, every historian also understands Vico's fundamental insight that human beings are human beings. And as human beings, we have a profound ability to understand each other. That is the great insight which historians bring to bear in trying to make sense of any kind of an analogy. The big difference between bad analogizing and good analogizing is an understanding of the exact match of circumstances. How much you have to bring to bear in order for an analogy to work. One of the reasons, for example, that the example given in the reading is especially telling is that it wants us to compare Trump to some previous politician, a president, a dictator, a leader. That's very hard to do. And that not only because of his funny hairdo. I've often tried to do that myself and tried to find an analogy, and the best I've been able to come up with is perhaps Gianni Quadros or perhaps Silvio Berlusconi, and they're not very good.